Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Fundamentals of Object Workshop course. In this lesson, we'll begin to learn how to create semantic mapping objects. So let's begin. We'll begin from the Object Workshop screen, and from here I'm going to navigate to the plus sign icon. Semantic mapping objects are the only object type created in the semantic mapping layer of the data model. The process of semantic mapping accomplishes two important tasks. The first of which is the relabeling of column names as they appear in the raw or registered data objects. The second task is to cleanse and conform column-level data to the standard of the data model. During the semantic mapping process, the data is not reshaped in any way, the grain size of the raw data isn't changed, and no other row-level transformations take place. These types of changes take place further downstream in the modeling process. The first step of semantically mapping an object is to select the import or registered data object to map from the source data table field. For this lesson, we'll use the patient assessment object that we created in the import object lesson. We've discussed the object name field in previous lessons, so in this field, enter the name of the object as you would like it to appear throughout the rest of the data model. As a quick refresher on the Ursa Health recommended convention for naming objects, each object is prefixed with a token that contains an abbreviation for the object's layer. For example, we use SM for the semantic mapping. That's followed by a / and concluded with an abbreviation for the data source. For example, UH for United Health. In our case, we'll use TRN for training. These abbreviations are wrapped in brackets, and this token is followed by a simple descriptive name for the object. So the end result will look like what I've typed in here. We also reviewed the object description field in a previous lesson, but I'll again provide a quick reminder. The object description field is where you enter a brief description about the object being created. The Ursa Health Technical Services team uses this field for entering information about the table or view's grain size. For example, our table contains one record per assessment. So our object description should read 1 row per assessment. The database object type field is where you can specify whether you'd like the semantic mapping object you're creating to be a table or a view. In this lesson, we will leave the default option, table, as our object type. Moving along, the table name field is where you specify the name of the table to be created. A little refresher on the Ursa Health naming convention. Start with the token representing the layer, so SM for the source data layer. Follow the layer token with a source token. In this case, we'll use TRN for training. Again, the data source token is followed by a description of the file. We'll use PAT_assess for patient assessment. And if needed, you can suffix the descriptions with a number like 001 to indicate ordering. The Mass Remove Special Characters field lets you select certain special characters to cleanse from all of the semantically mapped objects columns. This feature can save a lot of time, but keep in mind that the special character you select will be removed from every column in the semantic mapping object. This does not remove the special characters from the import object. which means you can always edit this object and adjust the parameter if you determine a previously removed special character should be restored. Similar to mass remove special characters, the Consider Values as Null option enables you to identify missing data that has been filled with strings that reads null, NA, or UNK, and replace those values with true null values. The Semantic Mapping Template field allows you to select a semantic mapping template to use for mapping purposes. Semantic mapping templates contain lists of fields with the Ursa Health standard naming and data type conventions for a concept like pharmacy claims or patient information. The fields in the template are mapped to fields in the import object to transform the import object's column names into standardized human-readable names. The Ursa Health platform has a repository of these templates available for use that reflect the best practices we've discovered for data modeling. You can select as many of these templates as needed to complete a mapping exercise. For this lesson, we'll use the Patient Assessment template. Selecting the Manage Semantic Mapping Templates button will open a page with all semantic mapping templates. Here, you can edit existing templates or you can add new ones. After opening a template, you'll see a field with the template's name followed by the table with the template's specifications. The table contains columns for defining keys, labels, type, and field groups, as well as a set of options for managing each row in the table. The fields listed in the templates table represent the universe of possible columns that could be present in an import or registered object related to the template's concept. In this case, the patient assessment template maps precisely to the import object we've created. However, often a template will have more fields to map to than exist in the object you are mapping. Let's take a look at each column in detail. First, there is the key, which becomes the name of the database column in the table or view that's created. The labels, which are defaulted to more human-readable variants, are what appear in various downstream objects and measures. You can rename any of these columns at any stage of the data modeling or measure authoring process. The type field is where you specify the data type of the column to be created. Here, you have typical data types that are mapped to the appropriate data type in whatever database management system Ursa Studio is connected to. Field groups are a way to logically organize conceptually similar fields. These field groups determine how columns in Analytics Portal's case review are grouped. Ursa Studio comes with a number of predefined field groups specified, but you are able to add, edit, and remove field groups in Metadata Manager. The Field Group dropdown allows you to specify which field group the semantically mapped column will belong to. The first option for managing this row in the template is the comment field. It's used by analysts and developers to note something about the field that's important. This is analogous to making comments in code. So to create a new row in the template, we'll just select the plus icon and a new row will be inserted beneath the row that we're currently on. Finally, we can delete a row from the table simply by selecting the X icon. All right, there are a few options worth noting before we move on. You can, of course, save the template you created or modified with the Save icon. You can also manage default labels with the wrench icon. The Labels feature is found in Metadata Manager and enables you to specify how column keys are automatically translated in column labels. For example, a key named PAT_ID will be automatically rendered as patient ID based on specifications in the label feature. All right, the last two icons are the field group feature in Metadata Manager that we previously discussed. And of course, templates can be deleted using the trash can icon. The Intermediate Derived Fields panel is where you can do pre-mapping data transformations using Ursa Health's pattern library. We'll revisit this topic of patterns throughout the course, but for a quick introduction, derived field patterns are mechanisms for generating a new field utilizing data from an existing field in the object. Some of these patterns will be familiar to SQL developers and analysts, like this case when pattern or coalesce. These patterns offer exactly the type of functionality that the names imply. Other patterns are more specific to healthcare data processing, like this add decimal point to ICD-9 or ICD-10 diagnosis code. When selecting a pattern, you can review its description to ensure it's the tool that you need. After selecting a pattern, you'll follow the prompts to fill in the necessary details to evoke the pattern. Any intermediate derived fields you create will be available for mapping in the next panel, Template Fields. An example use case for this functionality is source data, like a flat file that's delivered without a unique source ID on each row. Using this Generate Composite Key pattern is an easy way to remedy deficiencies with incoming data. All right, thanks for following along. We are going to pause here and we will pick up with the Template Fields panel in the next lesson.